Wrestling Geeks Alliance. Geek Vibes Nation.
Everyone out there in Geek Vibes Nation, this is your friend Dane Al for another great episode of Wrestling Geeks Alliance, in which we break down wrestling every week. Usually what we do now, since we do it 2 days a week, we'll record on Thursdays and do AEW, NXT related stuff, and anything like, independent outside of that. The major, news items will be displayed on our Thursday show. That will premiere later on Friday or Saturday. And then the show that we record Saturday, that comes out either Saturday or Sunday, goes over Raw and SmackDown and pertains towards major news involving those style things. So we're trying to break it up to you guys. We're trying to give you guys two good full shows. We're still going to try segments, but, as of right now, that's the breakdown. So new listeners, you guys just got to hear exactly how I, want to do this, and my partner actually want to do this going forward. And if you are an old listener, now you guys know the setup, but you guys heard us say that last week. But I just wanted to let you guys know. Either way, I want to say hello to my co-host, Christopher Brother Ray Patton. How you doing, sir?
I am doing wonderful, sir. I got a cold beer. I've been off this week. I am on the finale chapter of Yakuza 0. I know all about Goro Majima and Kiryu-san. I can tell you pretty much anything you'd want to know about those two characters. So it's been pretty good, Dane. How's your week been?
Well, I've also had this week off from work. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I assume that it is it like it sounds like Narcos, but about the Yakuza. Is it a television show?
It is a video game, and it is about the Yakuza. It's more about fallen members from the Yakuza over a very shitty plot of land that is ruining their ability to dominate the real estate market. And as silly as that sounds, the game fucking goes places. Let's just say that. It's a great storyline. Definitely has hints of Kojima. If you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, that story just goes places. It's got like a total Tokyo 80s vibe, let's say 85 to 88. Definitely recommend playing it if you're a video game
Man,
fan.
that sounds awesome. I've actually been binging something that I probably shouldn't have with everything that's going on right now. Black Lives Matter, obviously. I watched Waco on Netflix with Taylor Kitsch and Emilio. Is it Emilio Estevez that's in it? It's got an incredible cast, Melissa Benoist, but it's about what happened in Waco, and I don't think I was. I needed to find out about the fine details of the government and how that broke down. But I watched it on a whim. Someone telling me about it. I thought the David Koresh was a very, very problematic figure, but also like interesting, based on a lot of other cult figures like Jim Jones and Charles Manson. He was much more into it, and also, as weird as it was with what he was doing, was a good trying to be a good person, a good prophet, I guess you could say. But if you get a chance to watch it, Chris, definitely would say Waco is a crazy show. It's 6 episodes. And if you want to find out more about wonderful things involving the FBI, cops in general, definitely check it out.
So I did watch this, and first and foremost, I immediately drew comparisons, even though this is a true life story, to Red State, as far as how shit kind of goes down in Red State and Waco, and then you kind of see, oh, okay, I see what Kevin Smith did there. I learned a lot about Waco, I will say that. My family had always talked about it, but when this would have happened, I would have been 3 or 4 years old. and it's not something that we really learn about in any history class that I'm aware
No,
of.
it actually, unfortunately, from a sociopath, inspired the Oklahoma City bombing.
Well, there was a lot of those interviews that maybe should not have gotten played on TV.
Probably not.
Theater, but I will say this: phenomenal acting, Michael Shannon. You put him in a movie.
Oh my God!
You give him a fucking monologue. The guy's the best. Michael Shannon.
He cuts a great promo. That's a great promo. No, Taylor Kitsch too, man. I mean, he's always been a guy that's like, random background character, but between this and being the only good thing about True Detective season 2, acting wise, he did a great job. But yeah, Michael Shannon stole the movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's fucking great in it, and it just goes back to, again, every time I talk about Michael Shannon, I bring it back to like Solomon not Hobo with a Shotgun, but Shotgun Stories, which is Joe Nichols, I believe, is the director. Ben Nichols' brother from Lucero. Phenomenal fucking movie, great soundtrack.
On Demons, I believe, is Joe Nichols. I could be wrong about that though.
Phenomenal movie. Michael Shannon is great in this Waco series. Highly recommend watching it. It is kind of a weird time to watch it, but it also is kind of a good time to watch it because it points out everything's not always on the up and up as far as history goes in America, and a lot of shit does just go buried until someone goes digging.
Yeah, and you could dig in a sandbox to find out this information, unfortunately. But either way, good television. Big fan if you guys have it. If you have the DC Universe app, Harley Quinn as a cartoon is absolutely hilarious. It's like Deadpool, but like a cartoon, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's about it. Besides, of course, wrestling, which we've been watching and wonderfully, even though both of us admitted that we really liked Raw. Wednesday is an easier time period to go over wrestling. I feel like, even if one show is better than the other, both shows produce a pretty damn good wrestling show. Pro wrestling show, I should say, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, until New Japan comes back, this is definitely my favorite thing to watch on TV between AEW and NXT. But yes, they've been putting on some really good shows. I think AEW's had good follow-ups since the pay-per-view. And we're right back to NXT about to have a pay-per-view in the build towards that. There's some interesting moves that we're hearing about as far as some of roster changes, which it'll be interesting to see what they do with the NXT roster. I'm sure we're going to get more into that. But yeah, man, there's a ton of good shit to watch. Also, we didn't really talk about it, but The Last Dance, Michael Jordan 10-part documentary on ESPN. Highly recommend watching that shit too. It's great.
I plan on being able to catch up on it. I don't have the ESPN app. I don't know if it's actually. I hope Disney doesn't hear me right now talking about it. But I added Disney with Hulu, and they're only charging me a penny. So for Disney's app. So I don't know if I want to like try to add ESPN in it. But I've been wanting to watch that series really badly. Not being a big sports person, I did watch a lot of basketball games back then because my next door neighbor and good friend Alex was into Chicago, and it's like everyone I think back then watched a little bit of the Bulls and how they were during that time period. So I need to check that out. But yeah, definitely. I wish there was another friggin' episode of The Last Ride. No, they're just postponing us, just making us wait until next week. It's bullshit.
Yeah. It's very sad that there was not another episode of The Last Ride. But yeah, ESPN's putting some good shit out. They also, if you do end up getting the ESPN, the next 30 for 30 is Bruce Lee. So they're going to take their hand at Bruce Lee's story and documentary, I should say. They just did one on Lance Armstrong that I thought was pretty well done, even though
they're always great, man. They really are.
But yeah, that's been kind of my watch list. Wrestling, Yakuza 0, which I played. I watched Waco a few weeks back, but yeah, tons of good shit to watch for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to all right, so we did have this thing that came on, and I mean, we might as well talk about it. I don't know if you got like notifications or if you shut off that with emails and texts or whatever. But with WWE Network, they put on this like Sting like the hidden videos or whatever, and all it was like a pay-per-view and taking kayfabe away, more like inside like Sting's thought process and him going to this event that he's fighting Big Bubba Rogers, aka the Big Boss Man, and just like how he interacts with people and how everyone really, really, really likes Sting. Was this like a plea from WWE, or was this like maybe like a nice salute goodbye? Like it wasn't anything that was that interesting, honestly. It came with the match which wasn't that great, but it also showed like a lot of stuff like Ric Flair and a lot of wrestlers praising Sting for his ability to work the crowd and also do agile moves at his size. So if you're a Stinger fan, it's circa, I want to say like 93. He's still blonde-haired Sting, American, red, white, and blue face paint. But it just seemed kind of weird since Sting just jumped off WWE. I don't know if it was like them saying that he might be staying around longer, or if it was actually a nice goodbye in a really weird way with an okay wrestling match documentary, I guess. But did you see any of this, Chris?
I did not, but from the WWE standpoint, if he's going to show up on your competitor's TV, you might as well make as much money as you can before he shows up there. And all signs kind of seem to point, even if he's not going to do anything, he's probably going to make an appearance in AEW at some point, right? So I did not get to see this. I do know during this time period, as loved as Sting was by the crowd and how everyone thought they should put the title on him, he wasn't considered a guy that loved wrestling in the early 90s. He was more of a bodybuilder guy who was good at wrestling and was super over with the crowd. So maybe they're even trying to turn that a little bit. It's weird they would put in a Big Bubba match, but yeah, so I haven't seen it, so I can't speak on the documentary itself, but during this time period, I just keep in mind, like, people like Lex Luger and Sting were not huge fans of necessarily of the wrestling business. They just kind of happened into the wrestling business. And I think, Sting overall grew to love it and grew to love the fans, whereas there's other guys that were kind of in similar molds that maybe did not so much.
So I took up the network, and it was 1995, and it's called Sting: The Lost Tapes. And basically, the biggest thing that it does is it shows you Sting in the locker room and how well respected he has become, because not being, I think, well, they don't say this, but him not being the biggest wrestling fan at first, but taking the load of being the biggest baby face they have. This is right when they get Hulk Hogan and also Macho Man Randy Savage. So not the greatest match at all. It's interesting stuff. It shows you that what I loved about it, Chris, and the rest of it was kind of like up in the air, was whatever. It was just like unseen stuff, them breaking kayfabe. It's like, that's not unnormal for us now, but the way that he goes out of his way to go up to audience members or go and see fans before the doors open and really try to make a connection with them was pretty awesome. And it's just seeing the amount of adulation and respect at 1995 that a lot of the wrestlers had for him. And that's right when Savage and Hulk Hogan were coming in to WCW.
Yeah, I mean, he was considered one guy that wasn't necessarily a traitor or someone that seemed like was going to jump ship. He was the prototypical WCW guy for the longest period of time, even after they came in. And there were some contract holdups and some injuries that kind of led into the Crow Sting era. But I just remember during that time period, he is a guy that got criticized, if you go back in history, for not being a quote-unquote wrestling guy. I do know that when I was a kid, Sting gave me the good old hand tap as he was walking by, the high five.
He was the coolest
in the Gainesville Civic Center, and he immediately became my favorite wrestler of that time period. I'd grow out of that a little bit as I started to watch more wrestling, but as a 5-6 year old, Sting gives you a high five. He's the coolest motherfucker on the planet, and he always seems like he came off really well to the fans, whether he, really, really loved what he was doing or not. He always came off as super good to the fans, and a lot of the boys in the back that he had worked with for so long, coming, from kind of a dire time of WCW, let's say 88 to when Bischoff took over in 93, 94, and they moved everything to Orlando Soundstage. With tape matches and stuff. So, I mean, a lot of the stuff, when they say lost taping, they taped a ton of matches there. So if they just have that entire back catalog of stuff that we've never seen before, that'd be great. Let's just put all of that out. Because I need to know I need to know what Steve Norton was doing on some of these house shows.
I want to know.
I
want to know what Tully Blanchard was doing on his last leg of being a part of WCW. Give us his back catalog.
Exactly. It's filmed. Let's put out the Tully Blanchard early 90s WCW film. If we can. That'd be great.
Yeah. And I would also recommend, because I'll probably forget later on, because we'll talk about another Tully Blanchard promo they did on AEW, but go check out online about the promo where Tully Blanchard basically just completely destroys Shawn Spears for the match he had with Dustin, putting his face on his boxers. And it just shows you how certain people get promos and certain people just don't understand the concept. But either way, we should probably go. We have 2 news items to get to before we go into these shows. Want to start with a comment from our IWGP Heavyweight Champion, IWGP Intercontinental Champion, Tetsuya Naito is saying that basically due to stipulations of we all know what the hell's going on in Japan, being very close obviously to China, and them basically taking drastic measures to try to stop coronavirus and the spread of it in a small island that in which they live in. So the leader of the Insacro Benables, no, that's actually not Insac. Wow, I have actually forgotten the fucking wording of their shit. That's how long it's been.
Ignorables. I can never pronounce
God. Los Cinco Benables de Capone. The leader of that, Tetsuya Naito, like I said, the champion, Intercontinental World Heavyweight, he admitted, thinks it's unlikely New Japan will strip him of the titles under the current circumstances, but he acknowledged Jon Moxley was stripped of the IWGP US Championship after his plane was grounded because of the typhoon. The leader of LIJ believes this leaves him with little choice but to defend the titles in another promotion before August 9th. The threat itself, I don't think this is anything really that big. I think this is more like him just playing along with the media, if you will, because they take it a hell of a lot more serious in that level over there. But he's kind of pulling a CM Punk, if you will. Like, I want to defend my title from WWE and go to Ring of Honor and New Japan and go to all these other places. So he's saying basically like All Japan and Pro Wrestling Noah, some of the big competitors, if you would. Well, obviously no one touches New Japan over there, but some of their competitors, if you will. And I think it's all empty threats, but it's still cool seeing Naito being Naito, Chris, is it not?
It's great seeing him kind of take this leadership role and come out and make these comments, because they could do something where they put him on a Ring of Honor event or a CMLL event if, they can get clearance. I should be a 14-day quarantine, I think, for him to leave the country, plus whatever testing that they do in those individual promotions. But you could easily see him go and defend his title and have a good match, not necessarily lose the title, maybe even go over or have a time limit draw or something. It's a way to keep that title relevant and also show that he's a fighting champion. Unfortunately for his run, he's kind of on the heels of like some transitional champions, and before that you had Okada, who had the belt for 2 years. So you got to kind of show that he's a fighting champion. If they're not able to come back in Japan sooner rather than later, then it would make sense for him to maybe go to somewhere like Ring of Honor and have a match, as long as they're going to put him over and make him look good. to defend the title. So there's things there. It was interesting. He mentioned Jon Moxley, and we've talked about the potential there as a crossover. I don't think there's too much smoke right there. I'm not seeing smoke and then there's a fire or whatever, but that would also be a great
is
thing.
Moxley still the U.S. champion?
Well, apparently not, according to.
Oh, I guess they would strip it away from him.
I guess it's been stripped, but I can search that real quick as we talk about it. But yeah, to me, it's good for the promotion itself. And like I said, he could go work in CMLL or Ring of Honor, who I think are running shows at this point. And Ring of Honor would be maybe running shows before New Japan gets full up and swinging, because right now what the G1 is postponed, maybe even past Wrestle Kingdom. That's the last I heard about it. I haven't looked in a while, but
God, I miss the G1.
Yeah, this is our normal time of year for gearing up. We had Super Juniors and then G1. We always gear up for it and talk about the tournament, and then try our best to break down 7 nights of shit in like 2 shows.
God. And not shit as in a bad thing. Shit as in so much fucking stuff. It overwhelms us.
Not shit. He is the current United States champion. Moxley is still the current United States champion.
It's about as like Kenny Omega is the AAA World Heavyweight Champion, the Mega Champion. Like
in this situation, I think he probably would have dropped it during the at their next big event. But since that all got postponed, I mean, he won this thing in January. So if they were going with is it a 6-month limit that he was talking about for defending the title? You'd be right there at it, because he won it on his last match was January 4th against Wrestle Kingdom, which we all loved, which was against Suzuki. That was that death match. So today would be the end of Moxley's reign, technically, if they were going to strip him of the title. He's held this thing for 282 combined days, by the way. So he's held the title for longer than Kenny Omega or Juice Robinson as far as combined days, I want to say.
That makes sense. What sucks about Tetsuya Naito is that everyone thought that he was the guy to, because Kenny, even, I think, even though he had a good run, I just don't think he lived up to what it should have. Naito seemed like the next guy, if you're not going to have Tanahashi, if you're not going to have Okada, that he could definitely take it. Even though they tried it earlier in his career, it didn't work, kind of a Roman Reigns type of rebellion style concept. Now he's hot as hell. So how are you going to be able to take him a bit over? Oh, give him both the IC belt and the actual heavyweight belt. And then what happens several months later? You have the coronavirus, which breaks out in China originally, right next to them. And then, just everything, basically. It sucks for Naito. It has nothing to do with him, but obviously, even if he's just playing, in character, like a lot of people do on Twitter, if you will, with WWE, it's still it sucks that he's not able to produce his championship reign.
He's definitely keeping it kayfabe for sure. We'll say that. It does suck that we haven't got to see more of a reign from this guy. And some might say that if you go back and you flip the G1 victory of Kenny Omega, and that's the time you put Naito up there, you would have had more potential matches for him. So if he wins the G1, you lose the great Okada versus Omega match at Wrestle Kingdom, the first one. But as a champion, it may have been a better time to build Naito because Omega was still there, and there's things that you could have built around that. Now he has Okada, he has Tanahashi. He's definitely hotter than he was then, but I think from even our standpoint, when we were even talking about the G1 back then, or the following year, I guess, after the Kenny Omega Okada match, he was someone that I had penciled in for the next title run, even back then, because I believe he was the IWGP Intercontinental Champion, I want to say, during that time. It's when he was throwing the belt all around. Yeah, it's when he was throwing the belts all around. So people have been clamoring for him to get this title run, and unfortunately, when it happens, just very shitty time. But if you switch spots with him and Omega, and this is a time machine, obviously, then he has Omega, he has Okada, he has Tanahashi, and he also has Shibata, because Shibata would have been, in theory, wrestling against Naito. The whole timeline changes. Butterfly effect, basically, as far as that heavyweight division goes during that time period. So it's a long time. It just sucks that he finally won it. It was this huge moment at Wrestle Kingdom. I would even call it like a Daniel Bryan moment for Naito.
Yep.
And then this happened. Because I feel like this is the first time, because Daniel had a run with the title. I think people forget about it because he just got demolished by Sheamus. But he had a run with the title before he had his big WrestleMania moment. But this would have been Naito's kind of big WrestleMania moment. And then all of this shit happens and really kiboshed it. And it would have been great seeing him as a double champion in the G1, which I assume he would have done.
Oh yeah, I do. And I like Naito as the double champion. I also, even if it's in if this is in kayfabe, I do appreciate that Naito is kind of doing a very CM Punk like type of concept and threatening to, so he doesn't lose the titles, be able to, defend the titles in other organizations, kind of just playing around. But this is the only New Japan news that we've had in months, so I definitely want to go over it. Do you have any final comments before we move on?
No, I mean, I love the 90-day. I mean, this is one thing that I said they should have done with Brock Lesnar, is you have to make him fight every 90 days or whatever the time limit is, because that's what they do in boxing and the UFC. And that's the UFC tends to fuck this up because they have interim champions, etc. But if you don't defend that thing within a certain amount of time, it just gets stripped off of you. And I love that Japan's still playing with that rule, and Naito's out there talking about it and putting it into a future storyline where maybe he gets screwed out of both these titles, and that's your G1. Is whoever wins, it wins the titles, which could make that thing very interesting. I mean, there's a lot they could do with that. You could play off the storyline and still make it very competitive. So and also he is the anti-New Japan guy to some extent with this group. So it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense with his character, and it also makes a lot of sense with just the fact that New Japan continuously sells like, hey, rules matter in our company, and like if you don't defend your title within a certain amount of time, you get stripped.
Yep, I agree with you. Well, let's move on to one other news item involving AEW to an extent, but more of a clarification. And I don't know exactly how I feel about this, but we had the wonderful, always intelligent Linda Hogan commenting on everything that's going on with the rioting and just the protesting and whatnot. And on Twitter, she posts, "Watching the looting. It's all Afro-Americans. Not sure how robbing and stealing set the record straight, but if they want to be heard, they need to be civilized." That's my best impression of a Karen. Anyways, and then we had Tony. Oh God,
my wife's name's Karen.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Chris. That's a bad name.
Not all people named Karen are fucking assholes. Just saying, it's an old name.
We should be nicer to Karens. Sorry about that. But Tony Khan, if you've now joined your husband in being banned from all AEW shows, congratulations. Not so much the Linda Hogan stuff, but apparently AEW, Tony Khan specifically, took a stance with Hogan with his past, remarks that were definitely unnecessary, that were recorded by Gawker back in the mid 2000s, during a time period where he might have been intoxicated, but said some pretty derogatory things towards African Americans, and filtered towards today. Some people that are are black are okay with him, and like Booker T have a relationship with him. Some people like Mark Henry, not so much. Don't think that he's done enough to be able to apologize. Regardless of that, do you think that it was kind of and I mean, you don't have to do anything with Hulk Hogan. Obviously, he's been a cancer, to say the least, at many organizations when it comes to his input, quote unquote. But do you think that it's good to be like, not only are you not allowed, but also your ex-husband, Hulk Hogan, like, to take that type of stance? Or, hey, it's Tony Khan's fucking company. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
It's his company. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, but I would just keep in mind that, like, Tully Blanchard did watch Manny Fernandez get stabbed 6 times at a Denny's. So, like, if we're just digging up old shit. All of that aside, I mean, it's his fucking company. So he can do whatever the hell he wants. And if that pissed him off, then pisses him off. Hulk Hogan does. I don't think Hulk Hogan brings AEW any money. It's a different crowd looking for a different product. The crowd that likes that look for high work rate guys like Tully and Arn and Flair and Steen to some extent. I don't think they're looking for Hogan to drop the leg. The place Hogan's going to make the most money, and it's the same thing when Hogan went to Impact. Yeah, I mean, there were some Hogan fans that crossed over, but the reason people watched Impact was the X Division. People like AJ Styles, Amazing Red, Homicide, Suicide, Jerry Lynn, and AJ Styles. The list goes on and on and on. Petey Williams, etc. So, him saying that, I don't care. I mean, like, the other thing is, like, him and Dusty weren't on the best terms either, so Cody Rhodes may have a huge problem with that. Brandy Rhodes may have a huge problem with that.
Well, that's Hogan's the funny thing.
Hogan's
I don't
crossed
know about
a lot
Brandy.
of people. I mean, Hogan's crossed a lot of people without the racist stuff. Like,
well, I was about to say though, Cody specifically, I've heard him say very recently that Hulk Hogan is the greatest in-ring performer in the sense of how to get the crowd to react, basically, and how have them in the palm of your hands, and how he's emulated that type of concept as far as storytelling, not so much the actual good in-ring wrestling. Because Hogan, if he's going against Muta, obviously that's different, but in America it was pose, leg drop, pose some more, and that's how he was. But he got the crowd to be electric. So I don't think this would be Cody's call. Maybe Brandy influence. Obviously, she would have a reason for it. I think that this is actually like a Tony thing. He's showing dominance a bit.
No, and I think that's fine. I'm just saying, like, I know that Hogan and Dusty had heat, and whether or not you think someone was a great in-ring performer doesn't necessarily mean you like them. I know that Tully and Arn aren't the hugest fans of Hulk Hogan from their run at WCW, specifically Arn Anderson with the shit that NWO pulled against him after he retired. Even more so Hall and Nash. Maybe they patched shit up since then, but there's a lot of people there in the back. Someone like Dean Malenko, for instance, that probably is not the biggest fan of Hogan in general, even if you take the racist
Kevin
comment away. So it's I am not surprised at all that he's like, yeah, fuck Hogan. And also it does nothing for their business, so whatever. I mean, like, she said some dumb shit and he fired back and everyone loved it. That's AEW fans. I haven't seen anyone like denounce what he said about both of them being banned.
Yeah.
Other than it may not be a good business move for you, but at this point, does anyone really want to see the introduction of the championship belt was Bret Hart, which is the antithesis of anti-Hogan. It's the exact opposite. You know what I mean? Like, Hogan is a WWE guy. The best thing he can do is stick there and make his money there. Hogan obviously is a legend and has been forgiven by multiple people, and some people have passed through this, but who the fuck am I to tell you how to feel about Hulk Hogan? Right?
No, and I agree with that. I just think it's funny that you're right though, because the two shows that we go over on Wednesdays that we like the most, Bret Hart is very much, and Cody said this, and many other wrestlers obviously, that he's kind of like he's who they look to as a someone that gives them not power, but like someone they look up to. And you look at NXT, and it's all Shawn Michaels, and obviously Shawn does not like Hogan. So more of the antics of the not in-ring wrestling, but the in-ring entertainment aspect that Hulk, I think, is very good at, obviously. At either healer or babyface, it would make sense that he would do stuff with Raw and SmackDown. I don't know if he even heard about this or even gives a flying fuck about this, but you saying this and excluding his ex-wife that has nothing to do with them, you're saying that future down the road, you want nothing to do with them. So, hey, I get it, especially based on what he said, but at the same time, that's a big stance to make when you're talking to someone that had nothing to do with them. Well, was his ex-wife.
I mean, is it that big of a stance when it's your company and you're making a profit and you get a new show coming out and you're going way younger, you're trying to get away from the rock and wrestling and bringing legends in? I mean, the bringing legends thing in is going to be what is the ultimate WWE demise of not being able to make new stars. AEW has legends there, but they're not a focal point of the show ever.
No, they're managers, they're announcers, they're producers in the back. They're the ones that make the matches. Yeah, I agree with you. I do. It's just it's an interesting concept, nonetheless. But hey, I appreciate Tony for saying something towards Linda's stupid fucking remarks. And if that excludes Hulk based on his dumb remarks in the past too, up on him, man. For being that guy.
I mean, it sounds like something else happened there originally, and Hogan was already someone they had wanted nothing to do with based on the way the statement was said.
Yeah.
Whether it was the original comments or something else after the fact or someone that he rubbed the wrong way, which, like I said, there's a lot of people there that aren't necessarily the biggest Hogan fans of all time. I think there's a lot of people there that respect Hogan as a performer and being one of the biggest draws, if not the biggest draw of all time. Because it's undeniable that he's one of the biggest draws of all time.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean you can't really say against that. I mean, the popularity of wrestling would never have gotten to the point that it did, even with Ric Flair doing his thing in NWA, unless Vince and Hulk kind of got together for the 80s, for the rock and roll wrestling era, for the golden age.
Yeah, and I would go as I mean, you could switch the two, but is Ric Flair versus Andre the Giant the thing that creates pay-per-views in wrestling? Right?
Yep.
So, I mean, as big of a draw as Ric Flair was, Hogan is just undeniable, and that's why he's in our Hall of Fame. It's just because he's undeniable as being one of the biggest draws of all time. I mean, there's very few people that are ever going to hit that pinnacle. Flair did it in different territories all over the place, but he never really did it as the top guy in WWF, which at that period in the 80s was all that you needed to be. They made money hands over fist. I mean, Hogan's in 6 movies and a terrible TV show. There's, I mean, shit, people still wear Hulkamania shirts. It's all these years later. So he's undeniable from that standpoint. But Tony Khan's company, he doesn't want the fucking guy there. He doesn't have to have him there. I don't think it's going to hurt them one bit.
Yeah, me neither. Let's move on actually to Tony Khan's company and talk about AEW Dynamite from last night. Both shows, like I said, man, I really enjoyed AEW. I really enjoyed NXT. AEW, I think, did something for me a little more so than NXT, but I don't know. But both the main events for both shows were spectacular. And this time, I kind of did what you do, Chris, and watched AEW first and NXT right afterwards. And that's because I had this week off, obviously. But we start AEW Dynamite with a match with Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, the AEW Tag Team Champions, going against Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford. So the match was great. It showed Kenny. It's funny. It's like he's the Duracell bunny because you can knock him down and he can sell, and then also he can do the opposite and be Sonic and fucking just ping off of everyone. And that's very much what they kind of base the match off of. But you had Jimmy Havoc, who has no problem cheating if he gets a chance to, even if there's a distraction from the ref and he grabs a wrench, for Christ's sakes, and knocks both people. I will say that was, after getting knocked in the head by a wrench, you probably should have sold a little bit more for that. But that's not exactly what they did. And Kenny Omega and Hangman Page is just what they do together. And that ending with the buckshot lariat mixed with the V-trigger, awesome. Great way to end the match. Penelope Ford was ejected at one point for getting, interfering with the match that Kenny Omega kept on trying to, make the ref realize. And I thought this was a good match. And, of course, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page are going to win that. Note, this is the time period, even though they were there for the most of the night, where FTR made their way to the audience to watch. And JR made a good call in saying that they were scouting the champions, and very intelligent type of concept that the tag team that's new but has a lot of, power behind their name is going to, want to scout the champions themselves and take them out. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. How did you like this match, Chris?
Did they show up in the cool truck again? Because if so, I missed it. I was hoping they'd show up.
I believe so.
Okay. That C10 they're showing up in is sick. I like the idea of maybe them beating other tag teams that aren't the Young Bucks and eventually taking the titles off of Omega and Page, as opposed to them just giving us the Young Bucks versus FTR right away. I feel like there's a lot you can build on there. So I like the scouting and I like the commentary on it. This match I thought was pretty good. I agree with you. If you get hit with a monkey wrench or whatever, you're going to sell that way harder. I just wrote that off to Page being drunk. So he had superhuman Page strength through the rest of the match. But there was a great selling spot in this match where I think Jimmy Havoc, he threw Page into the barricade, and then Sabian hit like a double stomp on him, and then Havoc hit him with a DDT, like right in a row, and then Sabian hit like a poison Rana. Because I have all that written down, so I'm pretty sure that was like back to back to back to back, which was some really good spots. And then I liked the finish, and they've done this before, the buckshot lariat to the V-trigger combo. I thought that was really good. Sabian and Havoc, I think they're a decent tag team. It's just weird they're thrown together without any kind of. Maybe I'm missing this on the AEW Dark. Have they really described why they're together? Why Havoc is there? Does Penelope Ford have him under some kind of spell? Is he actually after her? Because he kind of just comes off as like a Kane and a random tag team thrown together, basically, to me at least. I think you're on mute, buddy.
In the UK, basically, Jimmy Havoc was someone that helped Kip Sabian, get better at wrestling, apparently, and now they're all roommates. That's it. That's their background.
Okay, so did they talk about that on AEW Dark and I'm just unaware of it, or?
Yeah, and on this too, but a little bit, just mostly on AEW Dark. That's something that they've always had a problem with. They like to display more storyline on a show that a lot of people don't watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of wrestling out there. So, I mean, just give me a quick tidbit. Because I mean, maybe I just missed it, but I don't remember a quick tidbit on why they're together other than Havoc just started protecting him one week. But if that's the case, then I guess it makes more sense to other people that are more in tune.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, so we already talked about the Tully Blanchard scripted promo that he did, that he basically just went off on Sean Spears and told him he needed to get his shit together, and if he's going to take this seriously, he's not going to do stupid things like put his fucking image on his crotch, and just went off on him. I don't know how much of this was Tully, who did not know what was happening on the pay-per-view. Maybe that had nothing to do with it. He knew about it. But it just seemed, because Tully's so believable, that he was really mad. In this one, they showed Tully Blanchard giving Shawn Spears an angry pep talk and then presenting him at the end of it with a fingerless black glove, something that's been apparently within wrestling when you go to Blackjack Mulligan, to Ted DiBiase, to Stan Hansen. It's always been something that's presented to someone else. So I guess it's going to try to drive up the stock, if you will, of Shawn Spears, Chris. I like the angry one. I wish you told him to fuck off and he just said he was fired and then went and managed someone else, but we're doing this, and he gets a black fingerless glove. Unlike Michael Jackson.
When I heard the promo, I thought he was going to end up managing FTR. Like, I
That's
thought
what
he
I
was
thought.
just going to sign them. I thought that's where that was going. Is like, well, we couldn't get Jim Cornette, but we can get Tully. I mean, there's obvious reasons on why they shouldn't and can't get Jim Cornette, but I think that would be, the most heat. But the next best thing you could do is get Tully. That would make a lot of sense with that particular tag team. Yeah, the single black glove. I guess he's going to start loading up the glove and using that to cheat to get wins. That's my guess.
Do you think that Shawn Spears is someone? I mean, it's heel prestigious, which is kind of a ridiculous concept, but it's still a prestigious concept. Do you really want to give this to Shawn Spears?
I mean, are you going to give him meaningful wins and not have him talk and act goofy and just have Tully be his manager? If so, that's fine. I mean, if Tully's going to give him this glove and he loads it up and that's how he wins matches is by using a loaded glove, there's ways to get that over. Shawn Spears in the ring to me, he doesn't have a personality. To me, he's not that great of a storyteller from every match I've ever seen with him. So it's going to rely solely on Tully Blanchard getting him over as a manager. But we've seen that in the past. I mean, it's not impossible to do. I don't know that that's where I would go with it, but the single black glove, usually you get someone like that, it means that glove is going to be loaded, kind of like the Kiss the Ring with MJF, where he's going to try to use that son of a bitch to cheat to the best of his ability. I think you're on mute, buddy. Did I lose you?
How the hell do I keep on doing this? Anyways, sorry about that, guys. We had a match with Brian Cage with Taz going against Sean Dean. And, I mean, it was a very, very quick pin. He pinned him with a drill claw. And that move, I don't know how I feel about it. I like him doing he used to do like the F5000 or whatever. But that drill claw, just like the screwdriver, is very Taz got a promo on Jon Moxley about why he was smiling last week when he was talking to him. Moxley showed up and said, very cool. Moxley just showed up like he didn't give a fuck who the hell either Taz or Brian Cage was. He walked right in the ring, and he said that Moxley was a fighting guy. As a Texas Cage, he would make him happy in the ring, and that he's not worried about either one of them, and that, if you're going to – basically, he said, like Birdman said, if you're going to say my name, say some spect in it, put some spect in it, man. And he came out there.
Spect on my name.
Put some spect on my motherfucking name, Taz, all right? And I'm the champion. You guys are not the fucking champion. You get to see the size difference between Brian Cage and Jon Moxley, because a lot of people don't realize this about Brian Cage. He's huge, body-wise. Height-wise, he's about 6 foot. That's it. So it actually looked like he was looking down upon both guys, which Taz about the same size as him. But, I love that Jon Moxley is able to, like, come in there, cut a promo, say, I'm the fucking champion. Don't think that you guys got whatever the hell you guys have in your head. You first got to beat me, piss off, and then he left. I thought it was awesome. But I love Taz at the beginning of it. I love him being the guy on the mic for Brian Cage. And seeing what happens later on tonight with Jake the Snake and Lance Archer, it makes me realize it doesn't necessarily have to be. Obviously, like the biggest one is Cody with Arn Anderson, but we don't always have to have the manager be the guy that just talks. I think we will hear Brian Cage, but for right now, we have to deal with, what's going on with him and Jon Moxley. And I'm kind of with you, man. I think that he is underestimating Brian Cage, and Brian Cage is actually going to beat Jon Moxley for that title. Chris, how'd you like this part?
I thought it was very, very well done. It was a good Moxley promo. I was hoping that he would tell Taz he smelled like the inside of his mom's purse, but he didn't, so I was sad slightly there. But no, all of that, all joking aside, this is a great feud. When you see Jon Moxley with some of these guys that you look at in other companies and you think that's a WWE guy, they're huge. And then you see Jon Moxley and you realize how fucking big he is and how big the guys WWE used to sign were. You kind of realize there's that size notion of like, holy shit, like Moxley is not a small guy either. He's just small in comparison to like The Undertaker or Brock Lesnar. So there was a little bit of that shock for me as well, what you're talking about. But with Cage being as big as he is and them putting him with this kind of a shorter, stockier badass and Taz, I think you get by that in a lot of ways. I thought the promo was pretty good. I like that Taz is using his own catchphrase for Brian Cage, which is like, beat me if you can, survive if I let you. He's doing it obviously with beat him and if he, as opposed to me. But yeah, I like what they're going with. I like that there was no pull apart. It lets you know that this thing is going to go on a little bit. That we're going to get to see some different things between these two. And yeah, I thought it was a good beginning of a show. As far as something to keep you around for the second hour in case they bump heads.
So after this, we had a somewhere in the country, I don't know where the hell it was, Alex Marvez was interviewing Lance Archer, who got really worked up after beating the shit out of some random person that we have no idea who the fuck he was. Jake the Snake, who is the pinnacle of evil, is trying to make him calm down. And he got really worked up talking about how one loss wouldn't deter him because everybody dies. After Archer left, Jake Roberts apologized to Marvez for Archer's behavior. Really weird seeing Jake have a reverse role now in this. He can't control him, and I think that's a good thing.
It builds onto the character a lot with Archer being uncontrollable now that he lost. I like that. And also saying everybody dies. Just Jack Swagger's gonna try to kill everyone based on his poetry. Lance Archer's trying to kill everyone. Baron Corbin's throwing fuckers off roofs. I think we should start the Killing Crew, is what should happen, and have Jake the Snake be their manager. Or they just legitimately murder people, apparently.
I don't know about that, man. I think that would not be too good to the different committees out there that don't deem murder as a good reason on professional wrestling, man. I don't know.
Well, what if like Evil stops them because he's technically the Grim Reaper?
I don't know, man. What if Evil is actually going to change his ways? And would he be called good?
He would start dressing like Saint Angel Michael or something. That'd be awesome. Sure. Get some flowing highlights, maybe blow out his hair, 1980s style, some angel wings.
Maybe he can tag with God like Shawn Michaels did against Vince and Shane.
This is what the fans are here for. This kind of great content.
All right, sorry guys. I was trying to prolong my cigarette, but I got back inside the house. So let's go over to the next part. Private Party were having drinks backstage when Matt Hardy showed up to check on how Mark Quinn is doing after hurting his knee last week. Like I said, this was not an actual real injury, but like something made for storyline. Obviously, this is where they're going. Private Party suggested that the three of them should team up as the Hardy Party. So now it looks like, yeah, he has, some type of connection, obviously, with the Elite. But now it looks like Matt Hardy's taking Private Party under his wing a bit. And I think that's actually awesome. I hope that he can help them a bit. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. But what do you think about this?
So I lost you for about 5 seconds there. So can you run the last question by me again? Sorry. Hardy Party is where I left off at.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Do you hear me fine right now?
I do. There was just a connection drop, apparently.
Well, there's a storm going on right now. I hope it's not affecting our recording, but hopefully it's not. But do you like that Matt Hardy's basically trying to it seems he has a connection still with the Elite, but he's might be at least trying to help out Private Party. I don't think that there's anything bad in that at all.
No, I don't. And there's a ton that you can do with Matt, and maybe they're saving it for if and when Jeff finally comes aboard for the big Matt moments, I guess. Coming over from WWE, there was this post he made where he said, spot on the nose, when we came into WWE, we had the biggest pop of all. There's a lot of people we could have worked with and helped put over. We had a lot of creative ideas. They didn't let us do anything, basically. I'm just synopsising this because I don't have it right in front of me. But I think his mindset going into AEW is that he's open to kind of work with anyone. If he's able to help get them over, then help get them over. I mean, the idea of broken
just like
Matt
Chris
Hardy.
Jericho.
Yes. So I think he is taking on that veteran leadership role, which if that's the case, that's great. Like Private Party and Matt Hardy, I think that would be the Hardy Party. That could be really, really funny if done well. And Private Party's a really good tag team. I think that get some couple wins under them. They get used to working week after week, because you got to keep in mind that these guys in the past, they've worked like 1 week and been off for like 4 weeks. So if this is what's going to get them into the main picture of a tag team, especially if you think about maybe Scorpio Skies leaving SCU, there's a gap that needs to be filled if you're building your tag team back up. And this isn't a bad way to do it. It's going to be interesting to see what they do for sure. Are they going to become the broken Hardy Party? Or are they just going to be hanging out at like King Maxwell's birthday party, giving him little xylophones and stuff, which would be extraordinary. But yeah, I mean, this is fine. And also it shows like a different caring Matt, and he could immediately turn on them afterwards because he is changing characters so repeatedly that it doesn't really matter what he does. He can give them like a little bit of rub for like 4 weeks and then change his character completely and be something super different.
Absolutely. After that, we had Chris Jericho coming out for his match against Colt Cabana. And God damn it, I love Sammy Guevara. So Chris, he's making his entrance, and you hear the lyrics of his music like a little bit off. Like, the person that's on a microphone obviously started singing them before they started like playing. And we find out that Sammy Guevara on his little scooter, and he's singing along with it. He's messing up the lyrics in certain parts perfectly. Chris Jericho is trying so hard not to laugh. And there was also a shot of this weird concepts going on with QT Marshall and Allie, where they're like, becoming very, very good friends. That's probably going to bite him in the ass very soon. But either way, we had the entrance. Chris Jericho comes out. He fights Colt Cabana, and the match was pretty damn good, honestly. Colt Cabana was doing a lot of his signature spots, but I loved, and I don't know how you feel about this, Chris, but I love that he went for that pin that neither one of us really like, and Chris Jericho kind of baited him, and that then got him right into the walls of Jericho, almost made him tap out. and he went for something off the ropes, and Jericho's right there to nail him with the Judas effect. He beat him. After the match, Chris Jericho said that him versus Mike Tyson is the match everyone wants to see. I don't know about that. He repeatedly called for the baddest man on the planet to come out and face him. And, of course, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy showed up. We had a part where he came up and he was trying to help Chris Jericho put his hands inside of his pockets. And at one point, Jericho sent the guys after him. And we had the normal concept where, Orange Cassidy evades them. First, we have Sammy going one way, then we have Jack Hager going the other way. By the time he gets outside, the best friends are out there already in the audience. They back him up. LAX comes out there, and we have a standoff that will probably accumulate, I'm almost positive, into a match next week. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the best friends, Orange Cassidy against LAX with Jake Hager. But fun stuff, man. I like the match. I liked even afterwards the fact that, he's winning. I mean, he's losing Colt Cabana, and now, Brody Lee is trying to get him to be a part of the Dark Order and courting him. It's interesting with that, but I like the match. I liked everything. I liked Sammy trying to make Chris Jericho pop, which seems to almost always happen, especially when he fucks up the lyrics. And I like the aftermath in the match, involving Orange Cassidy and what that sets up next week. How'd you like all this?
I feel like Jericho has been listening to our show because, I think it was 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was like they should always have Sammy Guevara singing because they had him on cam one night and he was really singing Judas really hard. I was like, man, he really loves this song. And in fact, I'm not a huge fan of that song, but I think I've turned the corner now that Sammy Guevara is the lead singer of the Inner Circle / Chris Jericho's band Fozzy. Sammy Guevara is definitely the new lead singer, in my opinion. It was great. It was very funny. And yes, it was taking Jericho everything in his entire body not to just die laughing. I thought it was a fun little match. I like this. I like the spot that you're talking about. I hate that bullshit Superman pin. I think that's just such a dumb finisher. I like Colt Cabana. He's a pretty good wrestler overall. He is known for doing goofy stuff, though, so he's going to try to do that. As far as I know, he's still kind of working in NWA, which is his finisher there, so maybe that's why they're still doing it. But if Jericho lost to that, I think people would be super pissed. So the fact that he just tried it and it didn't work, who cares? It's the same thing as Orange Cassidy doing something really dumb and it not working. If it doesn't work, I don't care. If it works and is super effective against a top guy in your company, then that's when it becomes a problem. But Orange Cassidy looks good here. I agree with you. I think this just sets up Best Friends versus Inner Circle. I don't know what that. I mean, is it going to be Hagar, Guevara, and Jericho versus Inner Circle, or not Inner Circle, but the Best Friends, or are you going to do LAX and Jericho versus the Inner Circle? I feel like LAX could use a win, so that might not.
I think it's announced Hager and LAX versus the three of them.
Okay, so that's not bad. So LAX probably gets a win out of that, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, it would make sense. But it's funny, even though obviously, Chris, they don't have an audience. They have their audience, but they don't have an actual audience. Orange Cassidy still has to be one of the most over people in the whole entire fucking company of AEW. He really does. I mean, it's crazy, but it's true.
It's really funny thinking back to Brian Alvarez having that match with him and talking about how this guy is a wrestling genius because he doesn't have to do shit, but he's still super over. And now here we are in AEW. That was way after that match, and he's 100% right. Orange Cassidy has to do 2 dives and dodge some punches, and he's still going to be fucking over. Something about the guy. It's a good gimmick. It works. There's one thing I liked on commentary with this, where it was QT Marshall and Alley, where Excalibur Loki was like, Judas is a makeout song, just kind of out of nowhere. With Sammy Guevara was singing it. That whole that whole entrance, there's a lot of funny commentary. So if you missed any of it, definitely go back and watch it, guys.
Do you think that Sammy has any type of hope when it comes to singing within American music, I should say?
Yeah, dude. I already told you should be replacing Jericho and Fozzy at any point now. When Jericho's ready to retire, you put Sammy directly in there. No.
Oh, Jesus.
He has no hope, but it's still really, really fun. It's like he really did. The best thing about it is, and I don't know if he really loves the song or not, but it truly does come off as you riding in the car with one of your friends. You know they're terrible at singing, but their jam comes on, and they just go full into it, and you're like, man, I wish you would shut the fuck up, but look how much fun he's having. It's like that.
Yeah. All right, so we had a awesome montage of Dr. Britt Baker working out to get better in her wheelchair. None of them seem like really suitable things to help her injury or anything like that, but we will come back to it in a little bit about how she thinks about all this. But either way, I thought this was fucking hilarious, Chris. I thought the montage was great. For someone that's injured probably until September, she is definitely making stuff work in the time being, and she's still like, I've said before, it probably doesn't help to have a significant other being an amazing heel, or being able to get advice from people like Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson and so many others of Jake the Snake Roberts of great heel work. She really is coming into her own, basically.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get to see it in it play out in the ring because she's not had that much in ring time since kind of developing this character, which is very sad. But the character itself is great, and I agree with everything else you said. It's just very unfortunate. I thought they were giving her a little bit of a push in the ring, and then the injury happens, which wasn't really her fault. Shit happens, right? So unless you're Kairi Sane, then shit happens to you.
Ugh. Fucking Nia. Anyways, we had Nyla Rose going against Big Swole in a match. Pretty bad, not bad, but like pretty badass match between both ladies. They beat the living hell out of each other. Big Swole's definitely someone that I have radar on as a future champion. But Nyla Rose would end up beating her. It was a close match, but Nyla pinned Swole after a spine buster. And it was kind of nice to see. I mean, I think that makes sense to an extent that Big Swole puts on this great performance. She's beating the hell out of her. But Nyla gets her with a couple big moves, but not necessarily her signature or finisher move. And since she was the ex-champion, gets a pin out of her. After the match, Tony Schiavone attempted to interview Big Swole at ringside, but they were interrupted by Britt Baker, who was sitting in her wheelchair on the back of a golf cart. Swole grabbed a chair and was going to attack Baker, but Britt yelled at Rebel, who she calls Reba, to drive her away, and that's exactly what they did. Like I said, Britt Baker keeps on becoming one of the best heels they have. Sucks that she's injured. Hope to see Rebel in the ring sometime soon, since she seems like, a suitable competitor as being someone that's a little bit bigger than most of the girls there. But I thought Big Swole had a good showing, and it makes sense for Nyla Rose to get the win over her. How'd you like this, Chris?
I like this, and it sets up something else for Nyla to do that's outside of the championship picture, in my opinion, because I feel like that you can come back to this. So you don't necessarily have to, if they trade wins for a little bit, her win-loss could go down, which wouldn't make her the number one competitor in AEW. And you can kind of move past her versus Akira Shida again, even though that the match she had with Shida was one of my favorites on that pay-per-view. I think that it does open up the women's division a little bit for the rest of the female wrestlers that are there in AEW. Britt Baker is incredible. Big Swole, I think, is someone on the horizon that could be very good. Just got to nail down that character a little bit more. and give her some meaningful wins, maybe against Nyla, and we'll see if the rocket ship takes off, I guess.
We will see. All right, so backstage, Darby Allin told Tony Schiavone that life's a joke, but he'll get the last laugh, basically. All right, so interesting stuff from Darby Allin. I mean, it was more the normal Darby Allin antics, but we know that he didn't win, obviously, the Battle Royal. He didn't win the ladder match, but I still feel like a lot of us, probably including you, positions him in that upper echelon of guys that probably might get either title. So what do you think he's talking about?
I think he's Lance Archer's next opponent. I have no idea what he's talking about, but that just makes the most sense to me, that he would be Lance Archer's next guy.
See, the thing with the whole thing, really, I mean, Lance Archer would make a lot of sense too. But if you look at the past, you look at how Taz tried to get him to allow him to be his manager. He told him to fuck off twice in a very, very direct sort of way. Now he has Brian Cage. If Brian gets the title or if he doesn't, I feel like Darby actually might be going against Brian Cage next. But it might be Lance Archer. I don't know.
Well, which is possible, but he's got to get there first, so he needs a meaningful win. So if he beats Lance Archer, that would get him there. Beats a former number one competitor. Because otherwise, you can't. AEW doesn't go straight there. So, if Cage wins the title, he's probably going to have to beat both Archer and Moxley to get back to the belt, which I think is fine. I think there's interesting ways to do it with Moxley. It depends on if you want Moxley to always be your top guy or not. But it does seem like Cage is getting that belt, and then Darby is going to be the guy chasing it. So I would say he goes through Archer first with this weird junkyard shit that's basically in his backyard anyways. So it makes sense they would just have a match back there.
I want to see more videos from that set. I think it's an awesome set.
But that's my guess. I mean, because who else is there? Is he gonna go? He's not gonna go against the entire Dark Order.
When are we getting him in a match with Jeff Hardy and Sting, 3-way? When's that happening?
About 10 years ago, in a time machine. I mean, you might get Jeff. You could get Matt versus Sting. I think that's a match that you could get and probably be okay.
I don't think Sting's okay. Even if Jeff was in the company, do you think Sting would want to work with him? Even if he's completely sober. I don't know if I'd want to do that.
If he's trying to do well, it depends, because Sting has came off very forgiving over all of that. I don't know if that's the first match you do back. I would probably do if it's anyone, I would say Kenny Omega, right? Like, or someone.
Be awesome.
You just got to pick someone that's going to be very protective. Like Cody would be good. He works that very clean WWE style. He's not going to make you take a buckle bomb. Matt Hardy would be probably just fine, because you could just brawl with him forever, and the two characters would be able to make a match similar to what they've done in the Boneyard or whatever. Jeff is a guy that needs to do a lot of high-risk stuff, which requires Sting to do a lot of catching.
All right, well, let's rather Darby, because he's lighter in that type of retrospect.
Yeah, I'm sure Sting can still pick up Darby above his head, no problem, 700 times.
I just want him. I mean, even if it becomes like somewhat of a mentor, relationships, I think that would be kind of cool. But either way, Tony Schiavone interviewed FTR, who named a bunch of AEW tag teams they'd like to face, including LAX, including Private Party, including, they mentioned that the Butcher and the Blade, that they got the better of them, but they'd actually like to have a straight-on match with them, which next week they will be. But they didn't mention the Young Bucks for some reason until Tony asked about them, and they said they want to beat the Bucks in 3 minutes, and that they saved the Bucks from the Butcher and the Blade because when they beat the Bucks, they don't want anyone to have any doubt about them being 100%. the Butcher and the Blade showed up, and FTR said that they attacked. It wasn't personal, but they can, of course, settle like gentlemen in the ring, and they will do that next week, like I said. And so we're positioning, I guess, FTR, who even said their name can mean a multitude of things. Fuck the rest, fuck the revival, which even makes sense, like you said, I think last time that we talked. Whatever. It's a multitude of things, but they are FTR, and they're not even looking at the Young Bucks. They're looking at everyone else. They're looking at Kenny Omega and Adam Page. They're looking at other guys that have done their thing. And I like this angle, actually. I like that the Young Bucks aren't good enough for them yet. I think that's actually kind of funny, but we'll see how it plays out and how long this babyface concept plays out with the FTR. What did you think?
I don't think they're necessarily supposed to be baby faces. I think they're supposed to be like the outsiders coming in. They're cocky. We're the fucking best. All you guys here are fucking scrubs. We're going to beat all of you, and then we're going to beat the Young Bucks in 3 minutes because they've been shit talking us for years. And now that we're finally released from this contract, we're going to show up and pub stomp the fuck out of you. That's what I got out of it.
Very true.
But I mean, I think you could look at it either way. But I don't know. Are they going by Dash and Wilder? That's the real question. Because they haven't really. They just call them FTR as a unit. Have they nailed down their individual names yet?
They have. I'm trying to remember what the hell they're. It's Cash something. All right, it's Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood.
Oh my god. Dude.
Cash Wheeler would be Dash Wilder. Cash Wheeler, I think his actual last name is Wheeler. And then Dax Harwood instead of Scott Dawson.
So Cash and Dax.
Yep, instead of Dash and Scott. Yep.
God, did they get that? Was that on their list of names from WWE before they left the company? Like,
it wasn't a part of the joint clown gimmicks that they were proposed, I guess.
Oh my god, so bad. Everyone's just gonna call them FTR for forever because those names are terrible. But I like where they're going with it. They're a good tag team. They had good matches in NXT. I'm not the hugest fan of them necessarily, but this is a good start. And maybe given a new environment and new things, maybe I'll change my mind. Who knows? But I think it's been booked very well so far, and keeping them away from the Young Bucks right off the bat is very smart. If it was WWE, they'd give them both mystical gimmicks, and then they would fight in some sort of fucking barn with John Laurinaitis there.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing? All right, so our last match of AEW was Cody Rhodes going against Jungle Boy for the TNT Championship. Like I said, Jungle Boy, so lucky. You have to go in a battle royal and win it. Oh, starting the week after that, anyone can challenge for the fucking belt. Whatever. But it doesn't matter. But Cody Rhodes and Jungle Boy had a pretty damn good match. It was Cody got blood. He got a little bit little juiced within it, a little gigged, if you will.
He's doing it too often. He's doing it too fucking often. You can't do that shit on TV too often, in my opinion. Against the Jungle Boy, you just open challenge to everyone. You just John Cena and you're gonna get juiced the first week. I get you're trying to get Jungle Boy over, but fuck, too often, Cody.
You didn't need it.
Stop slitting your fucking face open, please.
You don't want to look like your dad's forehead. Yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, so they had a really fucking good match, man. I mean, it was good. It went to the outside. That's when I believe Jungle Boy threw him into the steps or something, and then we come back. He's bleeding all over the place. We had a Crossroads that got the pin. After the match, Cody helped Jungle Boy up, and they hugged as other members of the Nightmare family and the Jurassic Express joined them in the ring. And it was a nice little setting. If I were to have anything happen at the end of this, I don't care if it's Brody Lee. I don't care if it's Chris Jericho. I would have had a pan out to some heel type of concept looking in on this and saying, you guys cheer now, blah, 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 blah. To me, that's what it needed. But either way, still a damn good match. Really like Jungle Boy. I don't think Cody needed a gig, but he did. And, he won with Crossroads. How'd you like the ending, Chris?
Man, it feels really weird that we have to tell people in 2020 not to gig during not a big match after not seeing any blood for so long.
So ridiculous.
Feels really weird. It was a good match. I don't know what it does for either guy because they're both baby faces and they just hugged at the end, and now Jungle Boy's just back to the oblivion of the mid card.
Yeah, it seemed like it needed a little bit more. It seemed like it needed like some type of villain, and they've established many calculating and realizing that they're going to take their next shots sometime soon. Instead of seeing the baby faces all like, yeah, we're awesome. I beat you, but I love you. You're great.
They could have just had Jungle Boy not win.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to do a 24/7 gimmick anyways. Then it would make more sense to do babyface versus babyface if he was like the third person to challenge down the line. So storyline wise, I'm going to shit on this a little bit. Don't normally shit on AEW, but I think it's kind of dumb. Honestly, he shouldn't be hugging. He just lost. Michael Jordan ain't hugging motherfuckers after he loses. It's not. I mean, that doesn't make him a heel. That makes him a competitor.
I don't know how I feel about this. Did you hear who Pat McAfee during NXT? They had a compilation about I think it was Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream. Said Velveteen Dream reminds him of Dennis Rodman.
I mean, I could see that, but that's what Velveteen's going for. He's going for an androgynous Prince type, larger than life Goldust character, and he's also very tall. He's got kind of the look when he dyes his hair and stuff. I could see that. And also, the main problem is Velveteen Dream isn't a heel anymore, and throughout his entire career, unless you lived in Detroit or Chicago, Dennis Rodman's like a heel. He's punching cameramen, he's kicking people that's on the other team in the chest. Like, Dennis Rodman was one of the original bad boys from Detroit, and that did, like, they brought him in because Michael and Scotty hated to play against him, and at that time period he had like almost committed suicide in a parking lot and was in San Antonio for a while, and they brought him in as to be basically in hockey I call it a fucking goon. He's a great rebounder and still with them he was still one of the best rebounders in the league and stuff. Like, he's still a great player, but he was just like an enforcer for them because Jordan and Pippen got the shit beat out of them by any team they played. That's how you would defend the Bulls. You just beat the shit out of them and take as many fouls as you can and hope that your team scored enough to beat them. But yes, they have similar looks. They're very androgynous. I could see that, and maybe that is an inspiration. I mean, fucking Rodzilla's great, dude. If you like hills, Rodman's one of the best, even when he went to wrestling. He did bail out. He did bail out on the Bolts game to go do wrestling. They definitely talk about that in that Last Dance documentary of like, well, we didn't know where Rodman was, and then we looked on TV on Monday, and he's at fucking wrestling, smoking cigars and drinking with Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. We're like, what the fuck is going on? So they definitely address that to some extent in that documentary.
I'll say that his gimmick, and I mean Velveteen Dream is I hope he's getting everything back to where he was, because he definitely had some ring rust. But when he's at his prime, his gimmick, yeah, we'll throw Dennis Rodman in there, we'll throw Prince in there, we'll throw The Rock in there, we'll throw Rick Rude in there. But stylistically, it's like his selling and his in-betweens is very, very Rock-esque, and everything he does offensively, obviously, is very Macho Man-esque. And he's a very complete package, but, we just have to hope that WWE... well, they're pulling up people, Chris. They got Matt Riddle. They're getting Donovan Dijakovic. They're taking them, putting them on the main product.
Yeah, they're pulling
I'm kinda
Dijakovic up to the main roster to get fucking Claymored.
Yeah, probably. But I'm scared for Mr. Velveteen Dream because there's many more coming apparently.
I mean, I don't know. He was better as a heel, or just like in between who you didn't know. And
So in between,
and when
just
he came,
don't acknowledge the audience, basically. Don't fucking cater towards them.
well, I mean, the problem is he came back and the audience acknowledged him, and then he like had fucking Rick Rude pants on.
Yep.
So
I love Dream.
we both love Dream. We said 2 years ago he should be in Maine. He's a guy that would be catered perfectly for Maine. Putting him down with indie guys that need,
It's crazy.
he's the guy that when you put him down there with a bunch of indie guys, he's going to have great, like, good matches, and he's going to be super over with the crowd. But he's kind of, to me, he's kind of like the Randy Orton, where, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but if you have a more formulaic WWE style match, that's where he's going to shine the most. When you start asking him to do a bunch of shit against 4 different guys, I don't know that he's that dude. And they weren't asking him to do that before, and now they have him, you know, when he's fighting the entire Undisputed Era by himself, he's not a good brawler. Points out a lot of his weaknesses. He had a bunch of ring rust. He also was a heel, essentially. They kind of just booked him into a very shitty spot. I think he can still come out of it, but they fucked up their own good thing, and obviously injuries suck. He lost a lot of wind on that, but I mean, he could have came back and just won the title in a clean-ass match.
I really think he's about to do it. I mean, and we'll go over TakeOver after this, obviously. That's this weekend, but I don't see what Adam Cole needs to prove anymore. And it just makes sense for Velveteen Dream to get the title after him. I don't know who else, unless you want to have Finn Balor beat him for it. That's the only other person.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know why any of these characters need to go to Raw or SmackDown when the show is doing pretty fucking good overall. And I don't know what benefit
but
it
he
is.
doesn't want to admit that AEW or that NXT is anything great, but he wants the fucking talent to cultivate his product.
Yeah, but if it's cold, if you're bringing Dijakovic up just to get fucking dominated by Drew McIntyre, it's not going to do anyone any good.
No, it's going to turn the fans against Drew McIntyre that actually, like, you know, watch NXT. But either way, let's start at NXT. We had a pretty damn good show. First thing, start off with Candice LeRae going against Mia Yim, and this ended up in a double count out. The women continued to fight after the match ended. Other members of the women's roster tried to pull them apart. Then a group of referees, Johnny Gargano and Keith Lee, entered to support their significant others, and the couples had a standoff. It was announced over the loudspeaker that William Regal was turning the brawl into a mixed tag team match, and we had Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano going against Mia Yim and Keith Lee. LeRae pinned Yim with a roll-up after Gargano stabbed Lee in the eye with his car keys, by the way. Fuck it, Johnny Gargano. Gargano stood over Lee's title after the match. So this is setting it up, man. We're going to have a 3-on-3 women's match that could kind of set up from this. It's going to be Shotzi, who looks like she's not too injured, which is awesome. Tegan Nox and Mia Yim going against Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez, which we'll talk about for TakeOver. But also, obviously, Keith Lee going against Johnny Gargano for the North American Heavyweight Championship, which is going to be an awesome match by itself. How did you like all of this? And do you like the addition of the new ladies match on TakeOver?
I like the addition of the new female wrestling match because I think it might lead to a tag team, which could be good for their tag division. I could be wrong, but you could definitely do something out of that. And it also gives everyone something to do on the pay-per-view. So it's not just like, here's your heavyweight title match, and then there's no one else. There's no other female wrestlers on the product. So I like it from that standpoint. Johnny Gargano as a heel still sucks. I did like that he used the keys. Still just not believable to me at all. So I'm hoping that he just gets destroyed by Keith Lee. Unless the idea is Keith Lee is also going to Maine, which I thought he would be the first
Vince
one up.
loves him.
I thought he would be the first one up over someone like Matt Riddle, who he's not necessarily fond of. So we'll see what happens with Matt Riddle, I guess.
Watch him get the EC3 fucking treatment. Video package about upcoming Tommaso Ciampa and Karrion Kross match included a promo from Ciampa saying that basically he wasn't worried about Kross and, you know, that he can have this type of vibe to him, if you will, but Ciampa is, you know, I mean, the original Sicilian psychopath. So in a backstage interview, Dexter Lumis was asked who he thinks will win this weekend's NXT Championship match. He remained silent, and after seeing, returned with an easel and started to draw something. So we'll go to what happened. Dexter Lumis' drawing was of himself driving a car with the Undisputed Era tied up in the back of the seat. And very, very good drawing for that amount of time period. Chris, how'd you like the package with Tommaso Ciampa in his words about his match with Karrion Kross? And how'd you like Dexter Lumis drawing a picture of him driving a car, going fast, with Undisputed Era tied up in the back, and all that jazz?
Well, I thought the artwork piece was a little bit weird, but the overall idea of him taking out the Undisputed Era is kind of what me and you have been leaning to. He doesn't really actually care about the title. He just cares about eliminating these people, which I'm fine with. I thought that was good. And, God, you asked me one other question there, and maybe I missed it.
Oh, how'd you like the package with Ciampa and Kross and Ciampa's words about Kross?
I mean, Ciampa's got to lose, I guess.
Yeah.
But I liked the promo, but he needs the loss because otherwise, how are you going to build Kross? Kross is the opposite of Lumis, where now you've booked him in a situation where he needs to win. Similar to what AEW kind of just did with Cage.
Yep.
So you book a big mean guy, you need him to win, and then you can have your babyface come back and win afterwards. But I don't know. Ciampa, to me, he's good at kind of anything they ask him to do, but he's still way better heel than a babyface.
He really is. All right, so in an interview earlier in the day, Drake Maverick said that he felt no pressure about the upcoming match. He seemed very confident. I mean, we'll get down to the aspect of if this was him not realizing that he was about to get a new contract after losing that last match, this being a big fucking work the whole entire goddamn time since the beginning when Triple H realized that Drake had a lot of passion with that thing. But as of right now, Drake said that he felt no pressure about it. Then we had a video package about Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream title match, including Cole hanging out with the rest of the Undisputed Era at a restaurant. Dream seeing a motivational vision of Prince, and Prince actually talked to him, which was fucking weird. I wonder how much that cost him. And analysis from Sam Roberts, Peter Rosenberg, and champion Drew McIntyre, which is pretty cool. How'd you like the Drake Maverick promo, and how'd you like the video package for Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream?
Sorry there, I think the storm made us drop. But how did I like? Did you ask how I liked it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that the storm screwed us up. I said, how did you like the Drake Maverick first interview saying that he felt no pressure in the upcoming match? And then how did you like the package for Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream with analysis from Sam Roberts, Peter Rosenberg, and Drew McIntyre?
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about Sam Roberts or Peter Rosenberg. They could just not be on my TV. That'd be great. If you're going to do the Velveteen Dream Prince thing, just do the Velveteen Dream Prince thing. I'm fine with it. The video package itself was okay. I just dislike both of those guys, I guess. Fuck, I buried that. Adam Cole, restaurant. He's great. It's a good promo. I'm looking forward to the match. Obviously, there's something looming in the wings that I'm more interested in the match itself. I think that Velveteen probably
Some
picks up
creepy
the title.
weirdo.
Yeah, some creepy weirdo. I mean, I kind of wish they would have done like the Clue thing where he took them out one at a time at this restaurant and they just stretched it over the entire show. But you know, we get what we get. I think it's going to be entertaining either way. I mean, they could do that at the pay-per-view itself. They're not building the character the way I would. Half these people would definitely have almost career-ending injuries at this point with Loomis.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool if that was the case. I hope they actually get around to that. All right, so
Also, Justin Roberts talks in fucking circles for like forever on this video promo. I don't know who he's actually rooting for in this or how he put anyone over, but it was terrible.
Sam Roberts.
What I said Justin Roberts. Sorry, Justin Roberts. Didn't mean to put that on you. Yes, Sam Roberts, the guy with the fro. That's the podcast. Like that dude. That Matt Cardona calls Doink.
All right, so God damn it. Breezango went against the Undisputed Era, and Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. They were the ones that were the mystery tag team in this. And this was to earn a shot at the NXT Tag Team Championship. So we have Breezango back, Tyler Breeze, Fandango. They are now astronauts. Well, look, I'm glad they won. I think that we all liked what Tyler Breeze was doing a second ago when he had an amazing match on NXT. And I know Fandango was hurt, but I would way rather see them as single acts than together as a joke act. Either way, Tyler Breeze hit Fist with a beauty shot, and Fandango put him away with the last dance. Imperium entered the venue after the match, and then Malcolm Bivens and Indus Shure entered after them. All three teams stared each other down until the commercial break. So obviously this is going to play somewhat in the future. How did you like this tag team match? How do you like Breezango being back? Don't you wish that they were kind of just, singles? Like, why are they fucking tags still?
I just want to know who Fandango pissed off to get saddled with that gimmick for so many fucking years at this point. He's so good. He's so good, Dane. Sucks. Now he'll forever be Fandango.
I hear Chris Jericho say it all the fucking time, man.
Yeah, he won the IC title from Chris Jericho. They could have shifted the gimmick, gave him something serious, but now he's Breezango. I mean, whatever, dude. Make your money. I like I like Tyler Breeze a lot. I think he's very good in the ring, but Fandango had a shot to be something a little bit more. They didn't utilize him. He somehow re-signed. He's still there. Now they're just kind of saddled with this bullshit. And as far as the tag match goes, if I'm being completely honest, I don't really care. It just seems kind of thrown together.
Oh, shit. Well, if that's how you felt, I understand.
I mean, the more the problem is, like, the fucking Breezango thing ran its course, and now it's not on main, so now you're asking your diehard wrestling fans that watch NXT to like this, knowing that Tyler Breeze was a huge deal in NXT beforehand, who's had great singles matches, and now you're making them a fucking goofy comedy tag team again, and it doesn't work to the same extent with the NXT crowd as it does with your main roster crowd. And it's also a waste of both guys.
No, I agree. I completely agree.
So it's hard for me to I mean, who ends up winning this thing, I guess, at the end of the day? What's your pick for this three-way match?
Love. That's my pick. It's not a good option. So. All right, so backstage last week, we saw some video footage of Robert Stone and Chelsea Green. They cut a promo about the Robert Stone brand. Green said that after her win with Charlotte Flair, she's the hottest she's ever been, and then she fired Robert Stone. So Aaliyah, who Robert Stone already, left, came out to support her in her match against Santana Garrett, and Santana Garrett defeated Aaliyah. So I don't know what the hell that's going on for the Robert Stone brand, but he's having some problems. Chris, how do you feel about all this? There's rumors that Chelsea Green's actually going to get pulled up already to Maine. I have no clue if that's true, but poor Robert Stone, and should he stop dressing like Tony, like Tony Khan?
Robbie E. I thought he's been pretty good in the role they gave him, even though they've done nothing with anyone he's managed. I don't know, tag team? You think that he gets them together for a tag team? If they're gonna pull
him and Drake Maverick?
No, Chelsea and Aaliyah. He can convince her to come back, and maybe they do a tag team. Is that crazy, or?
I don't know, man. I think that he might have screwed himself over with Chelsea Green. Some guy named Zack Ryder was like, "Stay the fuck away from him," and Chelsea was like, "Cool, Macedonia or whatever the fuck her name is."
Oh, did that happen? Is that like a shoot in the back?
No,
I'm unaware. Oh, I was like, that doesn't sound like Robbie. He's always came off as like a pretty good dude. I have no.
I don't think Zack Ryder is. I don't think he's scared about anyone. He's a good-looking dude. He seems confident.
I mean, I think he could I think he could build a tag team though. Like he could convince Chelsea to come back to his side and build the tag team, and then they can go up to Maine together, and then there's something for them to do. Because otherwise, we're just gonna get the Iconics. At some point, you have to build a women's tag team. If you have a manager, it makes a lot of sense. You just put two people together.
Iconics! Sorry. I just wanted to say that.
You remember when Alexa Bliss was a heel that was tricking someone to be her friend? And now they're just friends, and we never got a payoff on that?
Which fucking time? Which time? Do you remember when Sasha and Bailey were not really that great of friends, but they were? God damn it.
Well, I was trying not to bring that up, because we're both going to get fucking heated.
Oh, God. All right, well, anyways, there was a video package about the upcoming NXT Women's Championship triple threat with a similar format to the one for the In Your House NXT Championship match. I'll just say I really thought this was really well done. I love the footage of Io Shirai in the water and her reacting towards certain things. I thought it was awesome. I loved Rhea Ripley going into her part of it and saying look at last year. Look how great last year was for me. And then 2020 happened. And then that kind of extending off of that. And then also, obviously, Charlotte realizing that, these people, they say this is not your house. I was a part of the first fucking class that graduated from this. They all have great reason. I really want Io Shirai to win. We're going to go over this when we go over TakeOver. But I really liked the build-up video, and I really liked what they did with Io because they made her scary and kept her mystique within all those water shots that they did. How'd you like it, Chris?
I liked it a lot. I think this is one thing that NXT does better than any show that's on TV wrestling-wise are these video packages building matches. They're just really, really fucking good. It's believable on why any of these people would want to win, right? I'm really looking forward to that match. I thought it was fucking very well done. That may be the best thing on the show, honestly, because it did make me excited for that match. And that match is going to be really fucking good because Charlotte seems like she's been turning it up to 11 now when she's wrestling people. So, show stealer match, maybe?
Why is Charlotte on every show?
Because she's fucking good. That's why. Why is Ric Flair in every territory? Because he's fucking good. That's why.
Oh, that's awesome. I agree. Why is she on every show? She's my serious. Oh God!
Wait,
All right.
what would they rather see? Fucking Nia Jax versus Natalya?
I just want to see Nia Jax just like go against everyone.
I don't know what voice you're doing, but I assume it's people that don't like good wrestling.
That's my voice for Twitter. Anyways, all right. So we had Cameron Grimes. He won against Bronson Reed. They had a pretty damn good match. But Cameron Grimes got him with the cave-in. Afterwards, Karrion Kross came in the ring. Showed a lot scariness, if you will, with his face. Cameron Grimes got the fuck out of there, and he hit a Doomsday Saito on Bronson Reed, and then cut a promo on Ciampa saying he's not scared of him, basically, and that it's going to all end this weekend. Thought this was great. Love Karrion Kross's facial expressions. Glad that Cameron got another big win. Bronson Reed's definitely someone that I'd like to see get some wins. Formerly, what was it, Jonah Rock. He's a good big guy, man. He can move like a motherfucker. And his favorite wrestler growing up, Chris, was John Tenta, Earthquake. So either way, doesn't matter. But I liked all this, and I like that Karrion Kross is trying to fuck up some dude that's way bigger than he should be able to throw around, and then telling Ciampa he's going to basically he's going to murder him. He didn't say that, but we know that's going to happen. We know it will.
Was John Tenta was he the Shockmaster?
No, John Tenta is Earthquake. He's Canadian. And
yes,
then,
okay.
Oh, damn it. Tugboat was also Typhoon with Earthquake in the tag team called Natural Disasters, and Typhoon was also the Shockmaster and Tugboat.
Well, they're both great, and I love that tag team growing
Oh,
up.
they're great. They're fucking awesome.
But I was thinking of, like, there's this video, I think it's like 10 worst, like, fuck-ups in WWE or something. I don't know. If you look up, like, 10 worst, it'll show up on the WWE network. But Dusty's telling the stories, like, all the kids gather around to see the Shockmaster. He's talking about little son Cody's watching on TV, and the Shockmaster trips and falls through. Everyone knows the Shockmaster story, but, like, apparently young Cody was like, is that Uncle Fred? Which is Fred Ottman, who was Tugboat and Typhoon.
And he was.
it was Uncle Fred, turns out. But it was great. Having John Tenta as an influence, great wrestler, really good wrestler, former sumo guy, huge run in All Japan. I think people forget about that.
John Tenta?
Yeah, John Tenta, great. I like.
That's a good person to aspire to be, even though he's getting his ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, you remember when he was in the Dungeon of Doom and Hulk Hogan said the water's not hot? It's not hot.
Shark. And then he became Avalanche, thankfully. That was closer.
That's much better. Hey, man, Tenta made a really good career for himself and is definitely memorable in my mind. So, not a bad choice.
Not at all. All right, so we had the women's tag team match announced for In Your House with Mia Yim, Tegan Knox, Shotzi Blackheart against Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. I already said that earlier. Do you have any comments about that?
No, I mean, just what I said earlier. I think it's good that they're getting a bunch of female performers on the pay-per-view itself.
Yeah.
And it should be a pretty fun match. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of these very large tag team matches because they usually fuck it up, but there's a lot of good performers in this one, so maybe they will exceed my expectations.
All right, so the last thing, we had the interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship Tournament final. versus El Hilo del Fantasma going against Drake Maverick. This is a pretty damn good match, man. It's kind of fucked up because, and I have a theory that I have no clue if is true or not, but El Hilo del Fantasma, who I have come to know as King Carto over in Lucha Underground, and obviously over in Impact as Phantasma, and eventually he actually took off his mask over there, but he's always been this buff, chiseled guy that's really good with Lucha Libre, and just starting out the match with a handshake and trying to pull him up, it just shows you Phantasma was like, fuck this, I'm gonna win. I'm sorry, man, I don't care about what the hell you got going on, I have to win this match. And they went back and forth. I mean, Phantasma did a suplex. No, he did a power bomb on the outside on one spot, which looked like it might have been inflated more or something because of the area that they were in. I have no idea. All I know is Drake Maverick, he was just selling most of the match. It was an awesome match, though. I really enjoyed it. Towards the end, we had a part where the luchadors, same ones that have stolen so many other people beforehand, have been going against or going after, like I said, Phantasma, that beat the crap out of I can't remember his name, the Japanese wrestler that's been awesome in this tournament.
Kushida?
No, not Kushida, but
Akira Tozawa?
Akira Tozawa, yes. They beat the crap out of him. Phantasma came out, they ran away. So they came out, they approached Phantasma, and Drake Maverick came out and just beat the living shit out of both of them. They ran off, and then Phantasma took advantage of it, got the 1-2-3, won the Cruiserweight Championship, and it was big for him, but it was even bigger, honestly, for Drake Maverick, who lost and made his descent all the way to the ramp where Triple H met him and gave him his NXT contract, which he signed. So here's my thing for this. I thought it was a really good match. I'll go into my theory after all this. I like the match itself. This is a situation where Triple H, like we said, originally felt bad and wanted Drake to participate in this, who obviously, from what he said in that video, was supposed to have less matches than he did when he was let go. If Triple H saw something, wanted to keep him, and they kind of use this as a way for us to, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of cheap, honestly. I feel that kind of like doesn't make it as nice as it should be. And if for some reason, or if that wasn't it, and Drake really had no idea he was going to get a contract, and that happened, that's kind of even more fucked up. So I love Daddy Triple H. I love how he's now perceived as the all-father of wrestling, of getting stuff done in a way that we like. And before we hated his guts for beating up people like Mick Foley and Booker T. But if I don't know, it's really mixed feelings. It kind of seems disgusting no matter what. And I hate to say that, but I'm just being real. But I'm happy that Drake has a job in NXT. Don't put him on the main product. He doesn't have to be a fucking manager. He's a really damn good in-ring wrestler. Give him something to do, and then we have a match already set up between Phantasma and Jordan Devlin when they can do that. And I think Drake's going to be a main person when it comes to, a person going for that title. So I don't have a problem with that, but Chris, how'd you like the match? How do you feel about all this? Does it kind of not gross you out, but like just turn you off a bit?
I mean, it sucks, but we saw the turnaround on it kind of immediately, at least from Triple H. And maybe he pulled some strings and did feel some sort of way, or maybe we all got fucking worked. Who knows? What I will say is, now am I supposed to cheer for Phantasma? Now that he basically won after Drake Maverick saved his life, prevented some fuckery from happening, and then got beat. Because this was the problem I had going into this, is that if you book this guy into the finals, you got to find an interesting way for him to lose, and they didn't find an interesting way for him to lose, so I feel like the crowd's going to immediately turn on the guy they're actually trying to get over. Unless they've shifted to that not being the guy they're trying to get over. Also, I just want to say, rest in peace, John Tinta. I did not realize that you had passed away in 2006, which makes me very fucking sad.
Cancer, man. Fucking terrible. Canadian big guy. Badass as fucking hell. Earthquake was an awesome dude. But yeah, I agree with you, man. It's weird. I'm glad that Drake has, he is going to be able to do this, but it's just awkward how they get around it.
Well, I mean, if the end goal is this is like if you had the Razor Ramon versus 1-2-3 Kid match, right? And you built 1-2-3 Kid up forever, and then Razor just someone fucking interfered in the match, and then Razor won. Does anyone care about 1-2-3 Kid hitting the moonsault and getting that weird win after that? The answer would be fucking no. They don't care anymore. You blew it.
So what I think, and I could be crazy about this, Chris, we have not seen DJZ. We haven't seen Humberto. No, not Humberto. Oh man, I can't remember the other gentleman. Ray Mendoza. We haven't seen a lot of the wrestlers that have gotten kidnapped. What if we find out, King Cuerto in Lucha Underground, he wasn't really babyface. So what if we find out that El Fantasma is actually the leader of all this, and that this is his group of minions? Yes, it might be a little bit too similar to the Dark Order. I'm sure people will make comparisons, but that regardless, if this luchador group is actually his, that he put in place to get to where he was, took advantage of it, and now there has to be a force against that, whether it be Akira Tozawa, whether it be Drake Maverick, whether it be Kushida.
Yeah, but now you're putting together that he had them attack him on purpose because he knew that there was no way that he could beat Drake Maverick in the ring. It's just, they could go that route, and that's probably where they're going to go, because this guy's going to get booed out of the fucking building the first time that both of those guys show up in the ring. That was the problem with this match. They could go that route. I don't think it's very Dark Order to me, just because they're luchadors doesn't mean they're Dark Order. You're able to have your own faction. It's very different. There's a build up to it. They did a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, luchadors are usually Hispanic anyways, so.
Yeah, so people are just oh, it's just like the Dark. It's nothing like the Dark Order. They haven't been trying to recruit people via Twitter or video packages. It's a very different deal. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if Conan shows up and he's the actual leader and they're all involved or something. I feel like there's things that you could do that makes it very not that. Just because there's a faction with people with masks on doesn't mean they're the exact same thing. That all being said, they're fucked either way, because people are just going to cheer for Drake Maverick now, and they probably should have just had him win the thing, and unless they found a way to do some sort of draw, which they didn't do, and basically he decided to fight off the baddies and still lose, which is a very Rocky thing to do. But now, like I said, if Phantasma's not a heel, he's going to catch shit by fans.
Yep. I agree with you. That's why I think that he might have to go heel, but we'll find out. Hey, let's go over NXT Takeover before we get the fuck out of here. We have In Your House, 25th anniversary of the pay-per-views that me and Chris grew up with. Some of them awesome, some of them, most of them
not
terrible.
So much.
Terrible. But still, it's an anniversary. We're going to hopefully get the same stage this Sunday. And the matches, there's not too many, like normally NXT fashion, but pretty badass matches for the ones they have. So let's go from the first match, Chris, and give our predictions. We have Mia Yim, Shotzi Blackheart, Tika Knox going against Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. As much as I want to see the babyfaces win, I feel like Candice LeRae is going to get a whether it be Shotzi, Mia Yim, or Tegan Nox, I feel like she's going to get a pin on them. It would help her storyline, and I just think that the heels need this more so than the baby faces. Chris, what do you think about this 6-woman tag team match?
Well, I'm going to say the biggest heel in the match, Tegan Nox, hits the shiniest wizard and gets the W.
She's not a heel. Oh, Lord.
She's not? I'm sorry. No, I think the baby faces are going to win. I feel like they're doing something with Shotzi, so I could see her getting the pin here.
I'm just glad Shotzi's not hurt. All right, so we have for the NXT North American Championship, we have Keith Lee going against Johnny Gargano. I actually think that Johnny Gargano is going to take this championship. He'll be a 2-time NXT North American champion. I know it sucks for Keith Lee, but we can get him in something else because I feel even as weird as it sounds, I felt like that championship has been holding him back to not do anything, and it actually could help out Johnny with his credibility. Who do you think is going to win? Keith Lee, Johnny Gargano, the NXT North American title.
Well, I mean, nothing's going to help out Johnny Gargano as a heel. I just don't see that shit happening. But I could see Johnny Gargano winning here because, like I said, I think I think Candice is probably going to lose, and then she interferes in this match, and Gargano gets the win against Keith Lee, and they set up the rematch or whatever down the line. I think they have no idea what the fuck to do with Keith Lee because they can't bring him into Raw, and Vince wants him on Raw. So until Drew McIntyre is not champion, he's probably just in a holding pattern on NXT, which could be good for him depending on how they utilize it.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. All right, this one's weird because we have Finn Balor going against Damian Priest. Damian Priest really could use the win, especially over Finn Balor, who, even though there was tactics obviously caused by Damian, gave a win against Cameron Grimes recently. Finn, he has unfinished business with Adam Cole. You would think for the championship, but just the fact that they are like, one's the most wins, the other one's the longest reigning champion sort of thing, kind of like an Asuka versus Shayna type of concept. And then obviously Walter has been calling him out, so there could be some fuckery with the tag team champions causing Finn the match for Walter or something like that. But I feel like Damian Priest needs the win, and I can't believe I'm going to pick it. But Damian Priest, I think, is going to actually beat Finn Balor, even if there's no fuckery involved. What do you think, Chris?
Finn Balor, coup de grace, gets a win.
All right. For the women's NXT championship, we have Charlotte, Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai. I want Io Shirai to win, but I feel like Rhea Ripley is going to pin Io Shirai for the championship, keep Charlotte out of it, and that's what they're going to do. What do you think?
I tend to agree with you. They're going to make Charlotte look good, but Io is going to end up getting the title here, and then that's your top feud is Io versus Rhea going forward for the main title. And Charlotte will probably position herself on Raw for Charlotte versus Asuka, would be my guess.
All right, so you're going with Io, I'm going with Rhea.
I think you can flip-flop it either way. It just makes more sense for the baby face to challenge, to chase the heel. And I think Io has proven that she's been able to be there stable and be very good in the ring with whoever they've positioned her to work with. And it gives the fans a chance to get reacclimated to Rhea, who
I would rather Io win, honestly. I just feel like I know WWE and their bullshit. All right, so we have Ciampa, Killer Cross with Scarlett. Ciampa is going to lose, but I feel like this has potential. I'll just say it now. Either this or the championship match. I don't know, actually. That Finn Balor Damian Priest match should be really good. Keith Lee and Johnny Gargano should be really good. All right. Ciampa and Karrion Kross has a chance to be the best match of the night. I think it's going to be a brawl, but I think that Karrion Kross will end up winning that match. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think Cross is going to win that match. If I'm picking match of the night, I'm going to go one beforehand for that three-way match with Charlotte, Io.
Oh, yeah.
because I think that Charlotte's going to turn that shit up to 11, especially if she's dropping the title. So I think that might be the sleeper match of the night.
All right, so we have the last chance backlot brawl for the NXT Championship. If Velveteen Dream loses, he can no longer challenge for the NXT Championship while Cole is still the champion. Adam Cole, Velveteen Dream, backlot brawl. I'm going to give it Velveteen Dream. I mean, he already lost it for bullshit reasons last time. Now we get a chance where there is nothing that Adam Cole can do that can save the match. I mean, it is basically an Extreme Rules, anywhere fall style match. So I think that Dream's going to finally get the fucking championship from Adam Cole. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know about the rest of Undisputed Era. I would hope they would call all of them up. But if Adam Cole might be making his might be leaving soon from NXT. What do you think, Chris?
I don't think he's going to have a choice, because I think this is the point where Mr. Loomis himself starts picking these guys off. Since it's no DQ, you have ample opportunity to do this. What I hope it doesn't turn into is a fucking film camera giant scene with WWE. Maybe this will actually, if it turns into that and Triple H and Shawn Michaels and guys are working on it, maybe it won't be as bad as some of the other stuff we've seen. But I feel like this is the time where he starts taking those guys out one by one throughout the night, so that it is just a straight brawl between Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream. And I think Dream raises the title. I don't know what they're going to do with Cole afterwards, but it seems like Dream's time. Hopefully, this is a really good match.
Yeah, definitely. It should be an awesome pay-per-view. I am looking forward to it. I mean, that's the thing is, like, the last two pay-per-views, the last one was AEW. I've watched it a second time since I got Double or Nothing. And now with NXT TakeOver, I don't expect anything less. They're always good. And I love that they're putting a little bit of my nostalgia needs, if you will, with the In Your House to provide a look for it. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited about this weekend. I can't wait. But what are you going to say, Chris?
I was going to say, do you think Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole ends up in someone's house? Because that was the one thing that me and you said about them calling this In Your House that we did not want. So
I hope not. I hope it doesn't. But I do hope that you suggested that Velveteen Dream does the Shawn Michaels thing from the top of the house all the way into the ring. That Shawn did once. I think that would be fucking awesome. Because I love that Shawn's kids this last run mainly were Velveteen Dream, Adam Cole, and Johnny Gargano, because they all have like little different feels of him, if you will, as a performer.
Yeah, I mean him ziplining down to the ring would be pretty great if he hasn't thought of that. Hopefully he's listening. He listened to the show, so
He always does.
he knows how awesome. He should. We've put him over enough. Fucking.
Even when he
Come
sucked,
on,
we still were like, he's still gonna be good, man. Shit happens, man.
Yeah, really. It's not his fault. Ring rust.
Oh, I've seen him do that damn perfect Macho Man style performance inside that ring. He's good.
He's fucking great, and I think this whole show is going to be very, very good. Now we'll see if it's better than the AEW pay-per-view. Which
And that will be the judgment.
It just feels very weird to have a pay-per-view from NXT without fucking Matt Riddle on it.
Mm. Well, we might see him tomorrow night, Chris, on SmackDown.
Losing to AJ Styles, I'm assuming.
Can we get Rob Van Dam hired just for like a month so he can have like a program with Matt Riddle? That'd be cool.
I heard that he's banned from all TV and Twitter as of right now, just because he's having threesomes in a hot tub somewhere.
You don't do that on Twitch. Anyways, all right, guys, that was another wonderful episode of Wrestling Geeks Alliance. Thank you so much for listening to us. We got another show coming out this weekend. We'll have up, Saturday, Sunday, around that area, if you will. We'll go over Monday Night Raw. We'll go over SmackDown. And we'll go over any news related to the main roster with WWE. But that was our thoughts, if you will, on both Wednesday shows. And I'm really looking forward to TakeOver. Watch it. If you want to get a hold of me, look me up on DaneAlves42 on Twitter. Look me up on Dane Alves on Facebook. And, we'll have a chat. We'll talk about this type of stuff. Thank you so much, Christopher, Brother Ray Patton, for joining me like you always do. Say goodbye to the beautiful people and, put whatever plugs in place.
Goodbye, you beautiful people. If you miss sports, if you're a hockey fan specifically, we talked about the 24-team playoff situation that's going on in the NHL. Check out @Skates the Throats. Skates Throats on Spotify. Anywhere that you can type Skates Throats as a podcast gimmick, you should be able to pull it up. And you can hit me at Chris R. Patton on Twitter and Christopher.R.Patton on Facebook. Always glad to talk wrestling. And Dane, once again, man, it's always a great time. And I love that we do this every week. It makes me super happy inside.
Aw, makes me super happy inside too. Well, besides my wonderful co-host, I hope everyone listening has a wonderful evening. If you want to find Wrestling Geeks Alliance on other audio platforms, maybe, the ones that you're not using currently, we're on an array of different style social media-esque downloadable concepts, just like, iTunes, YouTube. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on SoundCloud. All searching Wrestling Geeks Alliance. Check out our past episodes. Check out our newest episodes. And just keep on listening. And thank you guys, everyone out there, for listening. Hey, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there, guys. And, I'm just saying that with the coronavirus, if you will, and everything that's going on with, I'm calling it the second civil rights movement, we're here for you guys for entertainment, but love everyone, man. Try to tell people that your family, your loved ones, that you care about them, and just drive that message more so than anything. Let's try to fix hate with love, and Black Lives Matter, and that's all I got to say. Have a wonderful evening from the bottom of both me and Chris's hearts. Thank you guys so much for listening. And peace be with you.